Ladies and gentlemen, football fans of North Central Ohio, you are now entering the Friday Night Pigskin. So get strapped in, lay some tide and get right for big hits, top plays, and highlights. All coming your way from under the Friday night lights. The most exciting sounds and sights, gridiron action to serve your viewing delights. Let's go. Friday night lights. Get hype, it's Friday night. Friday night lights. Get hype, here we go now. Friday night lights. Get hype, it's Friday night. Friday night lights. Get hype, here we go now. He's at the 10, the 5, touchdown! Throws it over the middle and he gets absolutely sauced. Friday night lights. Get hype, it's Friday night. Friday night lights. Get hype, here we go now.
Spread formation. Host Stetler, he fakes the handoff there. Kraft looking, throws, it's caught. Wide open is McDaniel. 50, 40, gets a block, 35, gets past 30, 20, 15, 10, 5, touchdown! He stayed in bounds!
Inside the Friday Night Pigskin week number 8 edition, all thanks to our friends over at Spherion Mid-Ohio, and a great call there from Travis Berardi. We're going to check in with OH Report Headquarters East coming up here in the second segment, but we've got a lot to unpack tonight. We had several teams competing for first place in conferences, a couple of upsets tonight, and of course the playoff picture, it's coming into full focus, and the conference standings as well. A couple of teams creating some separation, while others kind of coming out of nowhere, left for dead at the beginning of the season after some lackluster, if you will, non-conference schedules. But right now, things definitely starting to heat up in North Central Ohio. I am Brian Skowronski, and we are going to start with my game tonight over at the Colt Corral. It was senior night. Clear Fork didn't look so good last week on the road at Shelby. They were looking to get back and get the things going at home tonight against a Highland team that's been outscored 98-6 over the last 3 weeks. But there would be no score in the first half. So this is the halftime break coming out 0-0 on the scoreboard, and the Colts, all right, everything is back to good. Here's a nice throw into the end zone. Right guard is in there. Nice dime, and it's 7-0. And of course, Clear Fork is going to start to roll, aren't they? No! Hopefully it gets intercepted here, and that is going to set up Highland in business. And this man was a one-man wrecking crew in the second half. This is Kane Stover, and this is definitely a top play nominee, looking like he's in beast mode as he skirts into the corner of the end zone. It's 7-7. That's with 9 seconds to go in the third quarter. Now, rolling out the young quarterback, Robbie Schmidt, trying to make something happen in the fourth, but it's QB on QB crime. Picked off, hopefully going back the other way. But wait, what? He gets stripped at the end of this thing. Highland is back in business all of a sudden. The Colts defense, they would get a stop, and we would end up going into overtime after Clear Fork got a field goal, and they lead right now 10-7. Here's Stover making a sliding catch in the very next play, a walk-off right in front of the Stampede. The Highland fans would stampede out there. What a sight here tonight in the Valley. Highland walks off Clear Fork on the heels of a 3-game losing streak. An absolutely stunning scene out there in the Valley. I'm going to welcome in Josh Banks to the conversation here. Nobody saw this coming. This was a get-right game, if there ever was one, for Clear Fork, who got, I think, their ego trampled on a little bit last week at Shelby, where they allowed 52 points. This was the number 2 defense in the league. They played pretty well on that side of the ball tonight. But Josh, to only score 10 points against a Highland team that has been getting absolutely demolished by everybody, this is kind of I'm not even really sure where this came from and what to think about it, but Clear Fork losing 2 in a row. What a shakeup in the MOAC, man.
Yeah, I mean, I think we all expected last Friday to happen with the Shelby game, but this was a bounce back week for the Colts. They were supposed to get right. They were supposed to knock off Highland, welcome in Galleon here in a couple weeks, and have a chance to knock them out of play. Highland came in tonight and said, it's senior night, but we're going to take it away from you. And, man, did they do it on the defensive side of things. How impressive for the Fighting Scots.
And what I loved most is that they were up over on the sideline the entire game. You would have never thought that this was a 2-win team coming into the game that had been absolutely slapped the last 3 weeks, a couple of running clock losses, but the band came to play, the cheerleaders were hype, and I really got to applaud the Fighting Scots for coming in with that winning attitude. And obviously, Kane Stover was our MVP. Can't wait to post that one for you guys. Just a awesome conversation with the kid that was definitely the hero in the second half. So the Fighting Scots get to win number 3. And for Clear Fork, it's a little bit of soul-searching time now with 2 consecutive defeats. They were at number 4 in Region 14. We'll show you here in a little bit where they have dropped to. But the team that's at number 1 right now, both in the MOAC and Region number 14, the Shelby Whippets, they were on the road tonight over at NIST Stadium in Ontario. This was a team that I was told they had a lot of confidence. Back-to-back victories for the Warriors, and they certainly felt like they had the goods, even though they're a young team, to hold off the Whippets at home. But Travis Sloan starting the Whippet scoring party early. This is the opening drive. That's a 12-yard touchdown run. Then after recovering an onside kick, Shelby scores 20 seconds later. The area's leading receiver, Brady Bowman, on a 37-yard strike makes it 14-zip just 3 minutes in. Now after a series of turnovers, the Whippets would punch it in. Last-second touchdown run just before halftime. Braden DeVito breaking the program's career rushing touchdown record with number 66. He'd add on to that, and the defense was really making Ontario spin their wheels. Here's DeVito right on the doorstep, plunging in. It's 28-zip midway through the third, and oh yeah, DeVito, he's got a cannon too. Here he is rolling out, finding Avery Lambert in the zone to trigger the running clock. And we've got one last Whippet score for you coming up, the cherry on top. DeVito still in the game here, play action, and just look at the pocket awareness, able to avoid a would-be tackler, guns it deep, encasing Coke. With 5:25 to play, gets into the end zone. Shelby rolls to 8-0, 42-0 over Ontario. Another big win for Shelby tonight, going on the road and getting to 8-0. And we've been talking so much, Josh, about the offense, and rightfully so. I mean, this is a team, you look at the scores, they put up 56 in week 1, and then over these last several weeks, 49, 45, 48, 42. But how about 3 straight shutouts for the defense? This is as complete a team as we have, not just in North Central Ohio, but I think the entire state.
And how about how good their defense has played all year? Is the most points they've given up all season is 34 to Galleon, who's proven how good they are. I don't know who in Division 4 is going to stop Shelby, but it's going to take a lot to shut down this Whippets team, and Braden DeVito is showing why he deserves to be nominated for Mr. Football this year, and he might be making a case for why he needs to win it.
5 more touchdowns tonight, and it's impossible. We've been trying. I even instruct our guys out there, try to find somebody else other than Braden. We've been interviewing him a lot, and he's always really cordial, and of course, he's a stud. But let's see if we can get anybody else incorporated in the MVP. How can you when he accounts for all the touchdowns? He breaks career records. I mean, this guy, you're right, he's absolutely dynamite, and that's why he probably should maybe be the favorite at this point in the season through 8 weeks to be Mr. Football when it's all said and done in 2025. But the Galleon Tigers, another team that they feel like they would love a rematch with Shelby coming up here in the postseason in Region 14. They've been on a really nice roll themselves, and they had River Valley tonight, a team that's been a little bit iffy at times. Josh, you've seen them. Sometimes they look good, other times not so much. And the Galleon defense would set the pace of this game with an opening drive interception leading to this. 35 yards, Jacob Chambers, touchdown in the end zone. He's been so good this year. It's 7-0 early. Galleon defense showing that they are still in control of the game by blocking River Valley's punt, which went out of bounds in the end zone. It's a safety, and now in the second quarter, Camden Coolman looking cool here as he breaks off a awesome 65-yard touchdown run. 16-zip, Galleon out in front, and the defense continuing to hold strong as the offense is able to take advantage yet again. Dominic Capretta, he's going to find the end zone here. Another explosive play, tiptoeing down the sideline, reaches 59 yards into the zone, 23-0. And then coming out of the half, the Tigers march right down the field again. Tanner Lamb, he's in the end zone now. This is a 6-yard touchdown run. Activate the running clock heading into the fourth. However, River Valley showed that they weren't done just yet. Here's Ty Monette into the end zone, a 5-yard plunge. They would then recover an onside kick, but they would get stopped by a Galleon defense so tough. And Schmidt will hit Jamison Glue here to seal the victory, 36-6. The Galleon Tigers rolling, baby. They've got it going on again. 4 straight victories after that back-and-forth affair with the Shelby Whippets. So certainly after what we saw tonight from the Clear Fork Colts losing at home to Highland, unquestionably, this is the number 2 team in the league. They had the number 1 defense in the league coming in, and it looked like it again, Josh. You want to talk about a complete team, you got to kind of erase the fact that they lost to maybe the best team in the state. They are ranked number 1, the Shelby Whippets. Galleon, too, this might be a top 10 team in all of Division 4.
They might be a top 10 team, and they might be one of the only teams that can stop the Whippets in the path to hopefully going to play for a state Final Four spot. I can't wait for playoffs to get here. We got 2 weeks left of the regular season. But it's really similar to the Shelby, Ontario, I think, conversations that we had all last year. And now it's Shelby Galleon this year. And it's going to be exciting to see where both these teams kind of pan out come playoff time, where they end up playing, because we could have a remake of last year's Region 14 regional final when it was Shelby, Ontario at Arlen Field. Only this year it could be the Tigers and the Whippets. And the first matchup was absolutely insane. I wouldn't expect anything less from the second.
All right, let's take a peek now at the MOAC standings as they sit right now with just 2 weeks remaining. And keep in mind, Shelby's already taken care of the big dogs, if you will, within the conference. All they have left coming up now are the 2 teams out of Marion, where they've got Harding and I believe Pleasant over there last couple of weeks. So Shelby definitely in the driver's seat, as Galleon just sitting 1 game behind them right now. And this is going to be a race to the finish, obviously, for Shelby to go ahead and win that thing. It's behind by 1 game. But let's see how this is shaking out now in Region 14. These are up to date, so shout out Joe Idle. He has been on the ball here tonight, and he's got these up to speed for us. So the Whippets unquestionably, and look at the point gap, Josh, between Shelby and everybody else. But the Tigers, they've jumped into that number 3 seed right now, which would mean that they would get a first round bye. And Marion Harding's next up for them. Then a big game. They close out the season at home against Clear Fork. We'll see if they're able to find some traction along the way. The Colts, meanwhile, they were in the number 5 spot to start the day. They drop all the way down to number 9.
Yeah, and I think the big thing for especially Clear Fork, they kind of struggled tonight. They can still bounce back, and a couple more wins, they could still have a home playoff game in the Valley. But for Galleon, it's win out. The last time Galleon won a state title, they went into the playoffs as the number 4 seed. And they're right back in a similar spot this year. Cinderella type run from a 4 spot, you never know what could happen, but it's going to be a lot of fun for the rest of the season in the MOAC.
Yeah, here is the updated standings now, and certainly Galleon, they would need to get some help, and they would need Shelby to get knocked off. But as mentioned, they've got Pleasant and Harding, the 2 teams pretty much at the bottom of the league right now. So it certainly feels like Shelby, they're going to be your champions yet again within the MOAC, but the Tigers gaining a lot of momentum as we're getting close to tournament play. All right, let's shift gears now and let's talk about the Northern 10. Josh, you had the game of the night within that league. The last 2 undefeated teams remaining within the N10 over at one of the best small school venues in the entire state, and it was a dandy.
Yeah, it was a dandy. They come out and carry. They tailgate before games, and I tell you what, the game tonight was no question the game of tonight, as Colonel Crawford traveled to carry in what was an absolute hard-hitting smash-mouth contest. As we're going to start off the first quarter, Dash Puckett, have yourself a night, young fella, 62 yards. They would miss the PAT, though, so it's only 6-0. Crawford came in giving up 90 yards a game.
This appears to be a fragmented and somewhat
90 yards a game. But how about Dash Puckett again? This time from 68 yards, 128 yards on 2 carries for this young man and 2 touchdowns. Crawford had no clue what hit him, and it's 14-0 Devils. Crawford's going to answer, though, as Braden Holt is going to find John DeGray for a 69-yard score, and they're going to make it 14-7 in the third quarter. It got interesting. Can Carey score again? Can Crawford make the comeback? Well, Carey's going to add a field goal. It's about a 20-yard field goal that you're getting ready to see come up. They're going to make it 17-14. And that kind of put the icing on the cake, per se, but the McMonster on his 18th birthday is going to get in from about 11 yards out. That's going to make it 17-14 Devils. Carey drives down the field, and Trip Phoenix on a play-action bootleg is going to score from 5 yards, and that is going to be the clincher as the Carey Blue Devils upset the Eagles and win number 5 in a row, 24-14. And how about Dash Puckett? 17 carries, 201 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Crawford only gave up 86 yards a game on the ground.
And this Carey team, this has happened the last few seasons.
Yeah.
You look at the non-conference schedule. The combined records of the 3 teams that play out of the gates, they just have 2 losses right now to their names right now, Josh. So I think if any of our teams in North Central Ohio, maybe with the exception of Shelby, if they're playing this non-conference schedule, they too might be 0-3 and really behind the 8 ball of the playoff standings heading into their conference play. But Carey figures it out when they started getting into the N10. So what impressed you most about this team? Obviously, they've got a big home field advantage, but the Eagles, dude, they have been soaring. They've got a lot of playmakers. How were they able to shut them down for the most part and get what's the biggest win of the season, of course, within the conference?
I think the big playability of Colonel Crawford is something we've come to be well known with this year. Parker Weithman has had a phenomenal season, and then Connor McMichael led the N10 in rushing coming into tonight. Colonel Crawford averaged 408 yards of offense coming into the game. They are held under 175 by this Carey defense, but I will say Carey's defense was the best defense in the league at 148 yards a game. That's what impressed me more than anything. Parker Weithman did not catch a pass until late in the fourth quarter when they were trying to drive and score at the end of the game. They held him catchless for the first 3 quarters, and McMichael, until the 1 touchdown he had, didn't have a carry over 10 yards all night long.
So Colonel Crawford, they dip now for the first time all season long, but it gets a lot more interesting for Carey coming up this next week. They're going to be at home again, Josh, and you saw the environment over there. Mohawk, the defending league champions, coming over to their place. I got to imagine that there's 2 7-1 teams. This is going to be an absolutely berserk type of atmosphere.
Oh, yeah, and they're 2 big rivals in the N10. I mean, we've come to know Carey Crawford as one of the biggest football rivalries in the Northern 10 Conference. Mohawk and Carey are right down the road from each other. And now you're coming into a situation where Carey's won 3 of the last 4 titles. Last year, Mohawk wins it by knocking off Crawford late in the season. And now those 2 are playing. If Mohawk pulls it off, we got a 3-way tie atop the leaderboard. How intriguing would that be for a Northern 10 Conference? But Carey wins next Friday, and they win another conference championship, and that's going to propel them into the playoffs. And I tell you what, with the way they're rolling, look out for them to make a run deep into the postseason.
Mohawks only loss right now on the season to Colonel Crawford. They're going to need some help. They have Upper Sandusky on the road, and then they close out the season at the friendly confines of home out there in North Robinson against Winford. And speaking of the Royals, and we were talking about N10 rivals, perhaps no better rivalry, if you want to call it that, or at least a cross-city matchup, Winford and Bucyrus going head-to-head again tonight, Josh. This one, it's been a while, I think, since, 1997, since the Redmen actually won in this head-to-head. And, yeah, didn't get it done again tonight.
28 years in the making. They call it a rivalry, but I don't know if we can call it that anymore, and you're kind of going to see why. As it's going to start early on, you see it's youth night And Braden Campbell, the former Redmond quarterback, now with the Royals, is going to start the scoring off with a 3-yard touchdown. And that's going to kind of be the story of the night, is now you're going to see Gage Massey get in from 6 yards out. You know, we're used to seeing the Royals kind of run a pass-heavy offense. Massey catches it, Campbell to Massey. Not something they do very often, throw the football around. Now Bryce Locker, he's going to take off up the middle. Another kid that used to play in the black and red, now in that blue. He has a big 46-yard run. Now you're going to see Deegan Lutz, one of the young kids, going to go up the middle from 30 yards out. Bucyrus, though, they will get on the scoreboard as Christian Neal is going to have a 3-yard rushing or receiving touchdown, as Isaac McKeever finds Neal over the middle. Connor Stittler, an all-offensive lineman for the Royals, going to get himself a 65-yard touchdown. How about that? Wyatt McKeever, though, he's going to answer right back. Woo. He'll go in from 37 yards, sidestepping all the Royals. But Braden Campbell is going to have an answer himself, as he's going to take one off the left side and go almost untouched for a 23-yard score. That makes it 42-14. Now Campbell's going to find his big fella over the middle. Another touchdown to Jake Stover. But Bucyrus is going to put up one more score before it's all said and done, as McKeever is going to punch another one in. The final here, Winford 49, Bucyrus 22. 29 consecutive years that they're going to leave and win the Copper Kettle.
Yeah, and Winford came in with absolutely no momentum. Both of these teams, I believe, 6 consecutive losses here, Josh. So. Yep. Crosstown rivalry. Winford had that amazing run, of course, in the 90s and the 2000s, where it was Moyer, of course, coaching the team, and then they passed it down to Helbert. And despite the fact that they just haven't had a ton of success here lately, they do in this head-to-head matchup. You live over in that area. You've been paying attention to these two teams and just Northern 10 football since it's been in existence. What do you make of Bucyrus just unable to get over the hump and actually win the Copper Kettle and actually bring it home a couple of miles down the road for once?
It's just one of those where they go in with the most confidence I think I've ever seen when it comes to Winford Week, and it's poor execution. I mean, 49-22 tonight, and there was over 30 total flags thrown. Ugh. It's always a dogfight between those two teams, and I think it's just they struggle to stop the Royals. That's kind of been their MO this year. Their defense has not been the best. Their offense has done okay, but when you can't stop people and you're only putting up 20 points, you're not going to win very many games. And the one game that you always want to win if you're a Redmond against those Royals has not happened in quite some time.
Yeah, brother, I'm pretty sure that I was in 5th grade the last time that they actually won a game, Bucyrus, in this head-to-head. I've got a 5th grader now, plus a kid in high school. So I'm rooting for the Redmen eventually to get it done. It'll be a huge monkey off their back, but certainly the Royals, they're living rent-free right up here in the headspace of all of the Bucyrus fans. Let's take a look now at the Northern 10 standings as they shake out through 8 weeks. Carry, baby! 5 straight victories. Of course, taking care of the Eagles tonight. We already kind of detailed what is ahead, the roadway to a Northern 10 championship. It's going to be Carey versus Mohawk next week, and that's going to determine it. Josh, I think that's pretty much all that needs to be said at this point when you look at the top 3 teams.
And how about the fact that Carey might win the N10 with 3 losses on their record?
Yeah.
I mean, that just shows you the non-conference schedule that they played, Brian.
Yeah, it's been pretty crazy. Let's look at now Region 22, see where some teams are sitting here at this point. And Carey jumping all the way up to number 7. Huge bonus points, of course, across the board for them tonight. And if they're able to knock off Mohawk, you see how close they are to the number 4 team. I certainly feel like the Blue Devils probably jump into the conversation to where they are hosting, as you mentioned a couple of segments back, in week number 11. What a crazy scenario after, again, I think a lot of folks left them for dead. They had some injuries at the beginning of the year, 0-3, and you're just like, man, it's just not going to be Carey's year. But all of a sudden, that's a lot of momentum and starting to play their best football at the right time.
Well, and I tell you what, one thing that's kind of always talked about is just that Carey football, that brand of toughness they have. I spoke with a couple coaches tonight, and Eli Steen, you know the name. Anybody around the area knows the name. The young man tore his ACL in week 1, completely destroyed his knee. Well, he played football tonight. He actually had a huge first down for them. He's been playing all season on that torn ACL. The doctors told him, hey, you can't really do any more damage. So he said, no surgery. I'm playing my year. I'm going to play it out. And he exemplifies the toughness of Carey football.
All right, so Carey is on a nice little win streak here, and our next guest has been following a team that's been on an awesome win streak pretty much the last couple of seasons in a row. That being the Ashland Arrows, who were at Community Stadium tonight, and West Holmes, they had played themselves into the conversation up until last week, where Lexington kind of put it on them at their place. But the Knights looking for some redemption tonight, Josh, taking on Ashland, who's been super hot, man. So break it down for me, Haydet. What were your thoughts heading into this game versus what actually happened on the field?
Yeah, I mean, I think West Holmes was hoping to bounce back from the Lexington game, like you said, and they did not get that bounce back tonight. It was almost an identical score to last week. I think Lexington beat them 41-7. Tonight, Ashland goes out, beats them 40-7. They forced 2 first half fumbles that they recover. So they led 27-0 at halftime, and really just West Holmes couldn't get anything going on the ground. I think they ended up with about 170 total yards of offense for the game, and didn't get their points until the fourth quarter against the backup defense.
So Ashland receivers spreading the wealth here tonight, huh? So it seems like pretty much everybody's getting theirs, and I think that's typically the mark of a championship team, when everybody's fed and the good feelings and the vibes are just, they're unanimous all across the board. Everyone's got them right now.
Yeah, so, I mean, it was a nice night for the pass game tonight. I know Nathan Bernhard, I mean, with how much they've been running away with games this year, that the numbers haven't been piling up for single season stuff. Obviously, he's broken a couple of career records this season, but this was the first game he's been able to go over 300 yards passing this season. He goes 21 of 27 for 332. Dakota Crudy with a couple of touchdown receptions. 5 catches, 64 yards. Gabe Baith went for 9 catches, 180 yards. Did not get into the end zone, unfortunately. Stepped out of bounds on one play, had another one get called back for a block in the back. So got the yards, though, and then Braden Donatini, 4 catches, 72 yards tonight. So offense really balanced, didn't really have to do much on the ground. So I think Bernie was pretty excited to be able to open it up with the arm a little bit. He went over the top a couple times as well. So fun to watch them when they can sling it around a little bit. And again, just a lot of options offensively. Killian O'Brien was getting bracketed pretty hard, so they kind of opened it up to the other guys in the wide receiver room.
Yeah, 40 points can be fun, but the defense holds West Holmes to just 7, and it sounds like Gunnar Lacey, he's that dude on that side of the football he's kind of the leader. And again, looking at the scores here, Ashland, they've held, looks like, 5 or 6 of their opponents now to just 1 score or less. So they've got it going right now, kind of on both sides of the pendulum.
Yeah, 100%. Gunnar, I spoke with him after the game, returning first team All-Ohio, and he's kind of quietly taking care of his business this year. A lot of tackles, gets a forced fumble tonight on a strip sack. He's actually came into this game tonight 20 tackles short of their career record for tackles there. So another monster season again for him. They have not, you mentioned it, first team defense. No points in the last 2 weeks here against West Holmes and Mansfield Senior. They have not given up more than a touchdown in a game since week 3, the first team defense. So, yeah, they've just kind of been burying teams early, holding them down. And early on in the season, they were giving up some early scoring. And since they kind of learned from that, it seems like ever since league play got going, they aren't really letting anybody get any foothold in any game against them.
That's why they're right now at the top of the OCC. We'll show you the standings right now, both they and Lexington. And we kind of talked about this after week 4. Can't we just get like that Adam Sandler click remote where we can just get to the last game of the season? Obviously, that is going to determine the champion because Worcester, they're going to be coming into Ashland's place next week. They lost to the TY Tigers. So first off, kudos to Antonio Fletcher getting his first victory as a head coach. Do appreciate seeing that. But obviously, the Generals, that's typically been a rivalry game. Probably not looking like that's going to be much of a test. And Ashland hasn't had a good game yet in the fourth quarter, Doug.
No, they haven't. And I talked to them about that tonight, wondering if there's any concern about not being tested. I mean, they were tied with Clyde in week 3, 21-21 at halftime, but they shut them out after halftime, won that game by 2 touchdowns. So ever since then, no real tests, but I mean, it's very similar. I mean, if you're talking Ashland County, Hillsdale in a very similar situation too, where they had the postseason last year where a lot of these returning guys got good experience in the postseason, in close games, some comeback wins there. So I think both of those Ashland County teams are kind of leaning on the experience they got last year and really just handling their business so far this season. So, but all of them just kind of said, yeah, we're gearing up for that week 10 game with Lex. Bernhard told me even, got to take care of Worcester next week, but they figure that's going to be a 4-quarter game out at Lexington in week 10, and then postseason's coming after that.
Yeah, it's amazing how fast it comes here, Doug, and we appreciate you being on the case for us over there in Ashland. What an amazing season. In Scott Valentine we trust, and for good reason, of course. Another awesome one out there at Community Stadium, man. Thanks for burning the midnight oil with us. Per always, dude, always appreciate your commentary.
You got it. Thanks for having me on, man.
My pleasure. All right, so Ashland right now, they're right near the top of Region 7, but another team that has been steadily climbing up the ladder, the Big Walnut Golden Eagles, they were at home again tonight, and they had a rivalry contest going down, and of course, the voice of those Golden Eagles, the man with the golden voice, there he is, and looking rather dapper here for 12:20 p.m., Mr. Bryce Coder. How are you, sir? Fantastic. So break it down for me. Westerville North over at the Eagles lair tonight. What was your expectations for this one and how did it play out?
Yeah, so last year, a really controversial game went all the way into overtime where Big Walnut was leading by 2 touchdowns, but Westerville North came back and ended up losing in overtime. But this year, a little bit different. Westerville North graduating some folks out and starting us off on 4th and 13 in the first quarter. Eli Stump falling away, airs it out to Gavin Harrington. Dan Gamble, we got Curtis Gamble over on our sideline. And this is a great story here. Jackson Bowers, his second game, played limited snaps last game, was actually hurt in the Westerville North basketball game back in December and hasn't played, was working on his recovery, hurt his knee there. Coming in for the touchdown tonight, and TJ Minor off the line in a heartbeat coming in for the safety. Eli Stump rolling back for a receiver, but instead he just decides to take it himself as he tucks it in. And then the man himself, Nolan Burley, on a 54-yard run as soon as they get the ball. And we've been calling him Nolan Bunyan Burley, like Paul Bunyan. He's so strong the way he chops down the defensive line. And no different there, 54 yards, his 18th touchdown of the season. Final passing touchdown for Eli Stump of the night. He had 3, and he finds Owen Pollock on the RPO, a quick pass over the middle. Griffin Wolf for Westerville North ended up making the field goal, so that's where we ended at 37-3.
Eli Stump really coming into his own these last few weeks. I love watching the highlights. He's got such great pocket awareness. Of course, we know that he's got a fantastic arm. And a little text message that you shared with me, Toledo's got some interest in him. Penn State is taking a look at him. So talk to me about this quarterback and what you're seeing from him now that we're 8 weeks into the year. It seems like he's having a pretty special campaign. He's catching the eye of some dudes at the next level, some big-time programs.
Yeah, I mean, he's added so many aspects to his game just in this season alone. It seems like every single game he's maturing more and more in his decision-making, his ability to tuck it and take it. I mean, keep in mind, he's up and over 200 rushing yards at this point on the season, In week 3, he only had -9 rushing yards. So it's something that he's added relatively recently, and also airing it out. This was an offense early on in the season that really relied on Nolan Burley, but they would work off of him in the screens, wide receiver screens, but now they're really giving the trust to Eli Stump to be able to throw the ball. And with that first touchdown of the game that we had tonight, I mean, that was really a play that he let develop for a long time. He felt the pressure, he rolled out of the pocket and found a receiver that didn't have the guy within 10 yards of him. So it's really amazing to see him progressing.
Yeah, in this offense, it seems like they're clicking on all cylinders right now, Bryce, and had a couple of conversations here about few teams here in the area. Shelby, a complete team. Gallion, we feel, is like that. Ashland, we just talked about. This team, not only are they getting it done on offense since week 2, where they've been over 35 points just about every week, only once where they had 28, but defensively, that's where it doesn't seem like they're getting that much credit, or at least we're not talking about it quite as much. They've got some absolute dogs up front, and then on the back end, we know that they're pretty special too. So great balance, and they play that combination style of football. Complementary, I think, is what a lot of coaches like to say. So this team, it seems like, again, destined for greatness and checking all the boxes now with just 2 weeks to go.
Yeah, and you look at the records combined, they're beating their opponents by almost 200 points this season. So not only are they beating the brakes off of teams, they're going for the rotors and the wheel bearings. I think I saw Nolan Burley go for a catalytic converter earlier tonight. I mean, they are just dismantling teams with how well they've been playing. And exactly like you're saying, I mean, they have TJ Miner, who's kind of been the headline on the defensive line, but their linebacker core is so strong. And even in the defensive backs, guys like Brady Taylor, who already has 4 interceptions on the season, guys like Will Clausen and Clint Stover and Eli Helton. I mean, all those guys have over 40 tackles on the season. So like you said, that is really an understated part of their game is the defense.
And they've been able to climb the ladder, Bryce, after that week 1 loss. Let's take a look at Region 7 now. Look at how close the Golden Eagles are to Ashland, who's still undefeated. I mean, that is razor thin between those two programs. Ashland does have the benefit of they will likely be playing an 8-1 team in week 10. You look at the rest of the way for Big Walnut. Dublin Scioto, they've got 5 wins, and then Westland, they've got 4 coming up the next 2 weeks. So depending on how it all shakes out, certainly you feel like Big Walnut is going to get a first-round bye, but they've got potential too, Bryce, to be the #1 overall seed.
Yeah, very much that can be done. I mean, they're focused on the conference play with next week's game. They should be able to clinch that. And then moving on against Westland, I mean, they have a relatively easy schedule the rest of the season, so you could potentially see a spot where they take that.
All right, Bryce, appreciate you always keeping up with the Golden Eagles for us, man. A lot of fun highlights. Always good talking to you here late night on a Friday.
Thanks. Great talking to you.
All right, you too. Bryce Coder, our voice down there in Delaware County. All right, we've got our first timeout coming up here, but when we come back, we've got your votes all calculated up, and we know who the top play and phenom winner are from week number 7, plus plenty more highlights still on the way. You won't want to miss it.
Hey, does your checking account pay you with real cash rewards with no monthly maintenance fees ever? Bummer. Ask for Kasasa Rewards Checking. It's our superpower.
You have better things to do than to job hunt or scramble to find your next great hire. So let Spherion do it. We say local is our superpower because we live and work where you live and work. We know the Mid-Ohio job market, and we're locally owned. So you won't find a partner who's more engaged and literally invested in your success. If you're ready for something better, start with Spherion. Visit us online at midohiojobs.net or call 419-747-7479.
Hi guys, I need you all to have a foam finger. At Mechanics Bank, we're all about the community. victory, big or small. Mickey H. That's better.
At Avita Home Health and Hospice, our caring professionals are ready to serve you with personally tailored services designed to meet the unique needs of each individual. When we take on a patient at Avita Home Health and Hospice, they really do feel like family. So when we take care of our family, we want to take care of the whole person. So we take care of them from our nurses, our aides, our physical, occupational, and speech therapists, but we also have people that tend to their hearts. So we have social workers, we have chaplains, and people that can help with the emotional side of their care.
At Avita Home Health and Hospice, we have a dedicated team that takes care of you. Caring for the whole person is our promise to you. From social and emotional well-being to the way the patient relates to their loved ones, we treat your family like our family.
Serving patients and their families wherever they call home, including assisted living facilities and nursing homes. Call 1-800-4NURSES to see if Avita can help administer your plan of custom care.
In business and ag banking, it's not just about the numbers, it's about the people. At First Federal Community Bank, we believe relationships are the foundation of every successful partnership. We can help you grow your farm through various ag programs, including working with our local FSA offices, as well as Farmer Mac. We have many commercial business programs to help make your day-to-day operations easy and convenient. Because when you bank with us, you're not just a customer, you're family.
When it comes to comfort, every degree matters. At Buckeye Horizon, we proudly install and maintain Trane heating and cooling systems built to last, engineered for performance. And with our expert service, your home stays comfortable year-round. No matter the season, we'll keep your system running at its best. Call Buckeye Horizon at 419-529-2738, your local Trane comfort specialist.
Every week we hit you with some fantastic nominees for the best plays of the week, and then also the Friday Night Phenoms. Last week we had a double dip where Hillsdale won them both. We'll see if they can repeat as champions coming up here in week number 7. Yes, sir. How about back-to-back? Kel Lewis hitting him with it. Huge game, though. He only missed 3 passes all night. Almost 300 yards, 3 tutties. Oh, by the way, he ran in for 1, too. This was a fantastic throw on the run. Kel Lewis was getting it done all over the field for an undefeated team, so it's hard to argue with the audience. They like what they like, and what they like right now is fly, Falcons, fly. Kel Lewis, your Friday night phenom for both week 6 and now week number 7. And this is how it shook out. This was a really close vote. It came down to the wire. It was between Kale and then who else? Who's number 2 here? It looked like Brady Bowman out of Shelby. So, hey, first off, applaud to Shelby fans. Typically, we don't find them a lot in our comment section. Hillsdale always shows out, but this came down to the wire. Bowman just edged out by Kale Lewis. So keep it up, Falcons fans, putting Kale back in the King's chair again for the 2nd straight week. So that's your Friday night phenom. Now, let's find out what was the top play from week number 7. Here it is again, Kel Lewis. The Falcons back into the driver's seat, rolling to his left, back across his body. That's Brock Bauer on the other end, and he will tiptoe all the way down the sideline. Love the pocket awareness, the athleticism, and the ability. This dude has been amazing. No interceptions all year for Kel Lewis. Buying some time and finding Bauer for the big-time touchdown. Your top play from week number 7. This one not quite as close of a vote. There were a few that were receiving some love out there. The Briggs Wallace play was a pretty nice one where he was able to spin like he was a circus top out of some trouble and then take it in for a pretty awesome touchdown. But it's the Falcon effect, baby. They got it going on. 8-0 speaks. And we're going to show you coming up here in just a couple of minutes how they got to 8-0. But with that, I'm going to now send it over to OH Report East. Travis Berardi is standing by in a basement somewhere in Ohio.
It's a basement office. It's a nice basement office, as you can see with all the memorabilia. But yes, back here, OH Report headquarters east in Massillon, because I was at Orville tonight for a matchup of 2 teams that the playoffs started tonight. Orville sitting a spot out of the D4 Region 14 rankings, while Worthington Christian making the 90-minute drive north from Columbus. They were sitting a couple spots out in D5. So who would stay alive here? Let's take a look at the highlights. When we start on a punt, you know something interesting is going to happen. And this, sir, is exactly the case. Gets inside the 10. Why are you picking it up? It's a fumble. Worthington Christian set up and they cash in. Thomas Hardings is going to find Jack Smolinski on a nice double move. It's 7-0, but Orville would be right back at you. Cameron Kraft is going to find Braylon McDuffie on the post, and he's going to do the rest. 63 yards, tie game at 7. After a Warrior fumble on the next play from scrimmage, the Red Riders back in business. Kraft is going to throw the same exact route and drops a dime to Tyson Woodruff. 29 yards, it's 13-7. But back comes Worthington Christian before the half. Hardings is going to go down the seam and drops one right into Smolinski again from 42 yards out. 13-all at the half. But in the second half, Orville would take over, though. Kraft rolling. It's a broken play, and he dumps off to Case McDaniel, and McDaniel is on the case. Gets a block, tight ropes the sideline. It was your call of the night. He's gone. Another 63-yard scoring play, 20-13. Then late in the third, Travis, that's a really good first name, Pumneel plummels his way through traffic and into the end zone. 27-13. Orville staying alive like John Travolta with the 34-13 victory, Mr. Skowronski. We talked about McDuffie and that touchdown catch he had. He had 6 catches, 144 yards, and a touchdown. And then Kraft passing, 9 of 14, 247 yards, 3 touchdowns. He also had 2 carries for 36 yards. A good bounce-back victory for Orrville, who now, they still have a chance. Their coaches are talking. If they got the win tonight, one of their next 2 games against either Manchester or Triway, the top 2 teams in the Pac-7, if they get a win there, they are most likely in the postseason picture, Mr. Skowronski. And Mr. Thompson, if you could actually bring up the Region 14 rankings one more time to show where Orrville is. Orrville did not really move up. They were, I believe, 14th in the region, or 13th. They were 13th behind Clyde. Clyde, despite 3 wins, they beat a Division II Sandusky squad tonight to stay just ahead of you. And a fact that I didn't hear you say about Shelby, although I texted it to you a little bit earlier, last week Shelby was one of only 2 teams in the whole state. Cincinnati Anderson, a team that beat Big Walnut in the Final Four last year, were one of 2 teams that already clinched a home game, meaning they've already clinched the top 8 spot. Well, tonight, Shelby's already clinched a top 4. Shelby's already got the bye. Cincinnati Anderson and Shelby are the 2 teams in the state of Ohio that already are sitting out week 11. They'll be playing in week 12. The question is, will Orrville be playing in week number 11? We'll just have to find out, Ski.
Yeah, if you're those teams now in the coaching staffs, Coach Mahaney, maybe take some liberties, sit a couple of guys the last week or 2 if you want to, but I don't know. There's a lot of records to be broken, and of course they've been doing a lot of that out there in Whippet country. So it'll be interesting. They might be the first opponent for Orrville if they can sneak into the postseason after that bye. We'll see. The Red Riders got a couple of games coming up. They still have to handle some business in, but you saw who's been taking care of business right now in the top play in the Phenom vote. Well, guess what? They're back at it again tonight, Travis. The Falcons doing some more things.
Yeah, Falcons, last week they clinched a playoff spot. Can they be the next to clinch a home game in week number 11 and maybe week 12 with a bye? We'll find out. But, you talked about Cale Lewis with all these top plays and fee nominees. Well, they also have a top 3 running back in the area rushing leaders. That's Owen Sloan. He's going to start off with a 3-yard run, 7-0. And then, hey, once is good. How about twice? 45 yards out. Boom. Get off me. Get off me. Goodbye. 45 yards, 14-0. But Cale Lewis, top 3 passer in the area. He says, I can run too, guys. 46 yards. I'm going to one-up you, Mr. Sloan, by a yard. It's 21-0. But hey, defense is pretty good for Hillsdale as well. Carson Stevens with the block. Reed Major recovers. 28-0 like that. But hey, Northwestern's going to get on the board. Leonardo Gadetti to Raleigh Ramser, 45 yards. It's 28-7, but that's the only score they're going to get on tonight. Sloan, he's going to get his 3rd score. Fee nominee right there for you folks. 5 yards, 35-7. And then Lewis is like, I want another touchdown run. Let me go in from 20 yards out. I'm just going to dance with that defender. It's 42-7. And then Brock Bauer's going to get a sweep, and he's going to score from 5 yards out. 49-7. All of this happened in the first half, Mr. Skowronski, as Hillsdale rolls once again.
Yeah, that's crazy. All 56 points coming in just the first 24 minutes of the game. So Hillsdale, the Falcons, coming off that state championship appearance. They're at the top of the WCAL. We'll show you the standings right now, and obviously this is theirs for the taking right now. The Falcons have been absolutely phenomenal. They do have a couple of tough games, though, coming up here over their last 2 weeks, so it's not a gimme. You can't just hand them the conference just yet. They've got Rittman coming up next week, and oh, by the way, the Bobcats still lurking there in week number 10, and that one's going to be on the road, Travis. So this one not decided just yet. This is going to be a fun league that'll boil down to the wire over these last couple of weeks.
I mean, it says as what we were expecting going into the season, just like last year. It was going to come down to Hillsdale. It was going to come down to Norwayne playing for the championship, and it's looking just like that. Now, I mentioned Hillsdale in the playoffs a little bit earlier. Let's take a look at the Region 27 rankings where the Falcons are flying high once again. They're going to be right at the tops of the rankings, and by almost 3 points. I mean, they're dominating this region. Look at, well, number 8 and 9, too, Crestline and Danville. That'd be an interesting matchup in week number 1 of the postseason. But the number 13 team is under 5 points. The number 1 team is at almost 10 points ahead. I mean, Hillsdale, that is why they are already clinched. And looking at the number 5 team in Strasburg, Franklin, 6 points behind. I'm not I wouldn't be surprised if Hillsdale clinches a top 4 spot by the end of the night tonight. If not, a win next week should get them a bye in week number 11 to get them healthy. That's something they could have needed last year, remember, Brian. Owen Sloan was a little banged up. They had a couple players that were banged up going into the postseason. Maybe this year with this bye, if they can get it, that's going to really help them out.
Yeah, and it feels like they've built off the experiences that they were able to produce last year in this team. It feels to me like they're a much better overall product than they were in 2024 when they were pretty darn good. So we know the Falcons are going to get into the postseason. It's just a matter of, are they going to clinch the number 1 overall seed? Are they going to win the WCAL? But that number 9 team right there in the rankings, the Danville Blue Devils, they were out in the heart of Ohio tonight, and so was Jonathan Langdon. So let's welcome him here into the Friday Night Pigskin party. And this Devils team, they had an opportunity to really shake up the league, but the Trojans, it just feels like they're kind of clicking at the right time on all cylinders, and looks pretty good at home again tonight.
Yes, you're exactly right. I think it's looking like we're going to see a Centerburg Trojan squad potentially run away with a KMAC title unless Week 10 slips them up in a rivalry game. Let's take a look at these highlights between Danville and Centerburg, a game that I thought could really shake up the standings if it went the Blue Devils' way. But Parker Proper maybe a little bit too soon to go to the freshman, as Miles Marshall makes it a pick 6 early on in this contest to get the defense going for the Centerburg squad. Back to some special teams now. If you have that Centerburg Trojan defense and special teams, you had a great night in fantasy football. Hayden Love, 45-yard punt return for the touchdown. That will get another one. Flag on the field. It was on Danville. That the score goes to 14-zip. Danville, however, they do put a drive together in this one in the first half. Nolan Ridgway sneaks in for a 3-yard scamper to the end zone. That would make it a halftime score of 14-6. So there was some life there for the Blue Devils, but Miles Marshall breaks out of the crowd, makes sure that life doesn't last long over at the heart of Ohio. They fake it this time to Marshall, and Blaine Ball goes in basically untouched into the end zone. Another great day for the quarterback for the Centerburg squad. And then we see Parker Proper step back in the pocket and had a pick 6 earlier on in the game here. How about another one? Tommy Haas. I remember calling a pick 6 for him last year right there at the heart of Ohio. Here he is going again with a nice return, and that would make it 37-6. And then we see Danville on the other side of things. They get another score on the board later on, but we're going to jump to Miles Marshall, who's able to find the end zone yet again. That's his 21st touchdown of the season, folks.
Wow.
He is a front runner for KMAC Player of the Year. Centerburg wins it 44-14.
What a performance again by Miles Marshall and by this offense. And just looking at the scores here, I mean, the only head scratcher is that Johnstown game, which was there in the heart of Ohio back in week 2. Other than that, Centerburg, I think they've kind of proven that they are the team to beat within the KMAC. Jonathan, break down for me all the different facets of the game, and what do you see when you watch this Trojan teams play that just makes them so special, so difficult to defend, and no matter if they're on offense, defense, special teams? It seems like we're showing highlights of all 3 phases every week.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I think the biggest thing to note is the offensive line. I've said it numerous times when covering this Centerburg team. They've been able to stack up rushing touchdowns. Miles Marshall is the front runner for KMAC Player of the Year, and honestly, it's all thanks to his offensive line that has opened up some great holes for him. He's made some great plays, but when you look at the front offensively and defensively, this Centerburg team is just on a completely different level. That they proved that last week, beating Mount Gilead 46-0 in a game that was all about the trenches. So that's the number one thing that kind of points out to me. Honestly, the offense has really carried for the most part up until this week. The defense showing out, the special teams getting another touchdown. This Centerburg team seems to be getting closer and closer to their completion as a team as they move into the postseason. This is now 6 straight weeks of wins, 6 straight weeks of 40-plus points. They are, as we said, rolling on all cylinders, and they've got a pretty decent path to a potential unbeaten KMAC run. But they do have Fredericktown looming in Week 10 for that Freddyburg rivalry.
Yeah, that's going to be an awesome game. I've already got that one circled. Can't wait to sit back and watch that one on the replay after I call my game that night, of course. But you mentioned Mount Gilead, the big beatdown that they received the other night. So the Indians, or last week I should say, looking to bounce back this week, Travis, and they had to do it against the defending KMAC champions in Northmore, who have been a little bit up and down this season. But this would come down to the wire. One heck of a game.
Yeah, I mean, this is a rivalry game. You know, Northmore lost their actual rival in Highland, but always right down the road from Northmore is Mount Gilead. And you know the Indians, anytime I mention Northmore when I'm down there, Mount Gilead cringes like, no, we got to beat them. Was this the year that they were finally able to do so? Start off in the first quarter, the man named Carson Barnum, the number 2 rusher in our area, scores from a yard out, 6-0. He'd add the 2-point conversion to make it 8-0. Hit the lights. Second quarter, well, he's going to do it again from 13 yards out, and he's going to do the 2-point conversion again. 16-0. Hit those lights again. They're rolling. But the Golden Knights would be coming right back at you. Connor Stockdale, he's been phenomenal this year. 11 yards from Tanner Miley. Carson Campbell would get the 2-point conversion pass. It's cut in half, 16-8. But Barnum would do it again. Give him the hat trick on the night. 1-yard rush, 22-8. Is Mount Gilead running away with this? Well, no. The Northmore defense stood tall in the second half and shut them out. But could the Golden Knights come back? Brady Carr gets things started. A 15-yard pass from Miley. It's 22-14. Did not get the 2-point conversion there. Then later, with a minute left, can the Golden Knights pull off the miracle? Miley rolling, throws it to Bolin, and he makes the catch over his shoulder. It's 22-20. Golden Knights a 2-point conversion away from the comeback, but they don't get it. Northmore, Miley sacked on the 2-point conversion. Mount Gilead survives and wins an instant classic in this rivalry game. Jonathan, how big of a win is this for Mount Gilead after losing to a passing team like Centerburg last week? I think they learned some things about themselves, got that adjusted, and they were able to shut down a good passing attack in Northmore.
That's the proof in the pudding that this Mount Gilead team, I think, is going to go far if they get a good spot in the postseason. They just have shown the adversity, especially in this game here, getting a chance to take down your rival in Northmore. The 2-point conversion, you said Miley was sacked. That's a big play for the big fellas up front. They're the biggest team in the KMAC, and that's going to translate well to anybody that they play in the postseason. But anytime you can respond to a 46-0 clashing to a win like this against Northmore, that tells a lot about your team in my eyes. So we're looking at the KMAC standings right now. I love the fact that we've got 3 7-1 teams sitting pretty right now at the top of this KMAC standings. Fredericktown and and Centerburg still to play in Week 10. Mount Gilead taking down Northmore, and then there's a little bit of a gap there in that KMAC standings, as I thought maybe with that Danville potentially pulling out an upset, that could shake things up, but it looks like it's going to be one of those top 3 to potentially take home a KMAC title. Now, will it be split? Will it be outright? That we will find out likely in Week 10. Jumping back over to Region 23, a very exciting one. For us here at the OH Report. You can go ahead and go back to Region 23, but as we saw Centerburg dominate, they stayed towards the top of that region, and everybody else kind of fighting for positioning as Centerburg now sits number 1, Mount Gilead number 2. What a day for the KMAC to jump out to a number 1 and number 2 look in this region. You've got Colonel Crawford dropping to 5. They're looking to try and get a bye. They drop out of that with their loss to Cary. And then you see Northmore jumping back to 15. So that's a huge thing. They were sitting at 13 as the first team out, but with that loss to Mount Gilead, that really hurts their chances. They basically need to win out if they want to find themselves in the tournament come Week 11.
Yeah, absolutely. And just a stat to go back to that Northmore-Mount Gilead game, Mount Gilead held Northmore to -5 yards rushing. The Golden Knights had a plan to go through the air, but they couldn't even get a running game going. Remember, this is a very good Mount Gilead defense. Northmore able to, get to the air, maybe wore them down a little bit late in the game, but Mount Gilead figuring things out on defense. And just to see 2 KMAC teams at the top of the region's rankings, Centerburg and Mount Gilead. Mount Gilead, they have Cardington, and then they have their matchup. They also have, I believe, what is it, East Knox? They have somebody else. They have Loudonville, I think. So they have two very favorable games to finish out, 9-1. Probably going to be good enough to give them the home bye as well in Centerburg. That Fredericktown-Centerburg game is going to be so much fun. Scott Spittler taking on Coella. Just those two teams, Freddieburg Trophy on the line, and maybe a KMAC championship, and maybe the top overall seed as well in the region for the Centerburg Trojans. So, yeah, Jonathan, this is the best time of year, especially for you, Mr. KMAC Langdon, because things are heating up.
Absolutely. This is really exciting for me. I've been picking along these games all 5 weeks of the KMAC season, and I'm happy to report for all of my pick'ems, I am 20-0 picking these games this year. Talk to me.
That's why I handed it off to
Brian,
you.
I'm going to call it back to you because you told me at the beginning of the season that you felt good about the Danville Blue Devils repeating as KMAC champions. I still love my Danville Blue Devils, but I kind of knew going into Week 10 that it was going to be a Centerburg, Fredericktown, Freddieburg opportunity to see who wins the title from there.
I'm going to have Jonathan do all of my pick'ems moving forward. So if I got some money on the line, I want undefeated. I want 20-0. That speaks, my guys. Appreciate the KMAC Corner with that breakdown. Let's check out the Firelands Conference now. And we had a Norwalk St. Paul team. I mean, perennially, they're always in the mix for a championship. But coming off a tough loss last week at Crestview, looked like they had a bounce-back game tonight. South Central was over at their place, and we had Chris Bliley was there, just right down the block, pretty much from where you live, and hanging out in the man cave again tonight, Chris. So how's things going for you up by the lake?
Yeah, we're in the she shed today. No way. My wife would not let me hang one piece of sports paraphernalia in this place. So it's the she shed, but things are great. It was a little cold out at Contractor Stadium tonight. I like to say it was freezing, but the Freeze brothers took control of the game early and often. Take a look at the highlights here as St. Paul tonight, they were honoring their Hall of Fame class as they're inducting them in. They honored the 2009 state championship team. I believe the last time there was 6 divisions in football, and the Freeze brothers put their name in for Hall of Fame tonight. Here is Grant Coonley, and he finds Landon Freeze over the middle for a 20-yard touchdown. That just 3 minutes into the contest, St. Paul led it 7-0. Then Landon Freeze does it again. As here he pops it outside the numbers, and he'll go 57 yards untouched for the score. And 2 possessions, 2 Landon Freeze touchdowns. His younger brother, the freshman here, number 23, Casey Freeze, is going to take this one. He's got blockers out in front. He uses that speed, cuts it towards the pylon, and he goes in from 24 yards out. And the Flyers let it 21-0. Here, just a directional kick that South Central doesn't cover. Wasn't an onside kick or anything. St. Paul gets the ball following that touchdown. And 3 plays later, Landon Freeze would get his 3rd score in the first 17 minutes of the contest. This one from 9 yards out. St. Paul would, you'll see a great catch here off a pass from Coonley as he finds Levi Rospert, and Rospert with the acrobatic catch sets up what would be a 27-yard field goal from kicker Nate Griffin. Griffin hit the field goal and also hit on all 4 of his extra points. There is the Flyer team, Coach John Livengood on the right. They, of course, back in 2009 beat Delphus St. John's by 3 points. And then finishing off the scoring here is Casey Freeze. He goes into a little spin cycle there, and he will go all 70 yards for the Flyer touchdown, and that would do it for the scoring as the Flyers end up winning it here tonight from Contractor Stadium, 38-0. So a really complete effort after a disappointing loss at Crestview last week.
You know, I think very fitting that as the weather, it starts to get a little bit chilly, that the Freeze Bros, they come to play. I love that freshman. Even though it was a losing effort and they didn't get the victory last week against Crestview, he certainly stood out on tape, Chris, and they've got the freshman, they've got the senior. That's a pretty nice dynamic duo for a team that's trying to get themselves really back into the postseason picture and compete for a home game. So I kind of like what they got going on in those Freeze brothers, Coonley and the gang. This is a pretty dangerous team, I think, with just 2 weeks to go.
It is a very dangerous team. And don't forget, we're at Halloween time. They got Hocus Pocus, Nick Pocus, their starting tailback. And, he can get hot. He's had a couple 3-touchdown games already this year. So they have a lot of guys who can beat you. They'll have one more game next week where they'll probably play their starters 2.5 quarters as they play Mapleton. And then they'll get ready for that big Week 10 showdown with Monroeville. And if we've learned when you get these rivalry games, anything can happen. Monroeville will probably be favored, but they do have to come over to Norwalk. Should be a great game. Last year, it was decided on the final play of the game.
Chris, I'm going to have you hang out with us here. We had a big one tonight in the Firelands Conference. For first place, Western Reserve, a team that really handled St. Paul a little bit earlier in the season. They had Crestview take the trip up there to take them on in Collins. We were there, of course, a lot riding on this game. Cougars with a ton of momentum. They have not lost in a while, but it's always tough to win on the road, especially against a rival. Cougars on the back of a 5-game win streak, but it would be Brexton Freilich who would throw a dot here into the end zone to start off the scoring. 2-point conversion, no good. It would be 6-0. Now here's Tyler Wood making the snag for 26 yards. He'll burst into the end zone. Get the 2-point conversion this time. They'll extend their lead now 14-zip. Still second quarter now. It's Freilich again with the snag, and he's going to go the distance. He'll just waltz this one in, just walk it into the end zone. 70-yarder, and the route looks like it's on. Where is the offense for Crestview? They cannot get back on the field, just unable to move it against this Rough Riders defense. Meanwhile, Dom Edwards burning them in the passing game. Everybody kind of getting involved, and they would put some icing on the cake here. One more passing touchdown. This has been a running team for the most part this season, but it's Edwards again for a 5-yarder and a shutout in this one, Chris. This one really stunned me. Crestview, I've seen them with my own eyes a few different times this year. They just knock off their biggest rival in their eyes in St. Paul, and I felt like, talking to Zach Truax, who called the game, we were texting back and forth today, I really felt like Crestview probably had the upper hand going into this one. Boy, was I wrong. I can't make heads or tails of this one. You've seen Western Reserve. Why do you think that this team was able to put that type of performance against a squad that was coming in scorching hot?
Well, they got their missing piece back. You'll see that quarterback number 14. That is 3-year letter winner Hayden Keith. He went out in week 1. He didn't return until last week, and last week was kind of a warm-up for this week, but he's a 3-year letter winner for a reason. And normally they would hand it off to Landon Wiggle and let him go for touchdowns, but with Keith back and as a senior now, looking forward to playing, probably got a lot of motivation after having to sit for 6 weeks, and he makes that team he adds a whole nother dimension, and now we're getting to see the real talents of Braxton Freilich because he's got a quarterback who can really get him the ball.
Yeah, Hayden Keith with all those weapons around him. 5 touchdowns he threw tonight. Plus, on defense, I'm told he's a bit of a menace too. 3 sacks for that kid. So 5 wins out of their last 6. Western Reserve, they've got tons of momentum. They're going to be at Plymouth, and that's another game where, again, you feel like they should be able to put up a lot of offense. And then at home against New London. So let's look at the Firelands Conference standings as they sit right now. They've just got the 1 loss right now in the league, that coming a couple weeks ago against Monroeville, who's the only team right now undefeated right now in the conference, Chris. They've got New London, let me see who they got down the stretch.
They have
here.
Ashland Crestview next week. I'll have that game.
Yeah, Crestview and then St. Paul. So it's going to be a tough task for the Eagles to finish it out. You would assume that the Rough Riders are going to finish this thing up at 6-1. So a lot still to unpack, and the Eagles control their own destiny.
Yeah, the Western Reserve Rough Rider fans in Wakeman and Collins, Ohio, they are going to be interested observers the next 2 weeks with Monroeville, that schedule being backloaded with Crestview next week and St. Paul in week 10. So that'll be very interesting. I know you have a different group up there with Western Reserve at 10, and certainly that means at this point they would be playing a road game, and they're not going to get a lot of points left, so they're going to need some help if they want to host a game. I know in Region 25, Division 7, Monroeville right now is locked into a bye. I would assume if they beat St. Paul there, they'll stay in there. St. Paul right now remains at 9. Going into tonight, St. Paul would have gone to Buckeye Central, but with Buckeye Central's loss, St. Paul with 2 wins will move up probably somewhere in the 5 or 6 neighborhood. 1 win next week, I think, will get them in, and they still could lose to Monroeville, but then they would go on the road. So I think St. Paul looking to win their last 2 and try and get a home game. They're looking for their 14th straight postseason appearance.
Yeah, Monroeville obviously controls their own destiny. I think if they get wins in each of the last 2 weeks, they're only behind by 1 point there to Fairport. They probably jump up to the #1 spot, so they would both clinch a league title plus get the #1 overall seed in their region. So a big couple of weeks coming up here for the Eagles.
Absolutely.
It's going to be fun to see how this thing all plays out, Chris. And speaking of fun, the weekend is here, buddy. How are you about to spend it?
Well, I'm going to mow the lawn in the morning, and then 12 o'clock Buckeyes, and then my second favorite college football team, whoever plays Michigan, it will be USC tomorrow, and I'll watch them hopefully take down Michigan at 7:30. You know, maybe grab a Meat Lovers pizza and then wake up and get the honey-do list done and watch the Browns beat the Steelers. I know that's not what some of the guys in the studio want to hear, but hey, there we go. I'm hoping that the Browns can do to the Steelers what my Ohio University Bobcats did to the West Virginia Mountaineers.
Ooh, can we get a shot of Travis again now with the expression since he was so bold with the terrible towel? Oh.
He does have my book in the background, though. It says Beat Pitt there, but I know that's for his Mountaineers in West Virginia.
All right, Chris. Sounds like you got a full weekend coming up, buddy. Appreciate the time. As always, enjoy it all from the honey-do list all the way down to the Browns' victory, my friend.
You got it.
All right, we've got just one more segment coming up, and I think you guys can all kind of guess what's on the way. That's right. We saved the best for last, and there it is. Andy Jardy on the way next.
Hey, does your checking account pay you with real cash rewards with no monthly maintenance fees ever? Bummer. Ask for Kasasa Rewards Checking. It's our superpower.
You have better things to do than to job hunt or scramble to find your next great hire. So let Spherion do it. We say local is our superpower because we live and work where you live and work. We know the Mid-Ohio job market, and we're locally owned. So you won't find a partner who's more engaged and literally invested in your success. If you're ready for something better, start with Spherion. Visit us online at midohiojobs.net or call 419-747-7479.
Hi guys, I need you all to have a foam finger. At Mechanics Bank, we're all about the community. Whether it's supporting our local teams or cheering you on in life, we're here for you in every victory, big or small. Mechanics Bank! That's better.
At Avita Home Health and Hospice, our caring professionals are ready to serve you with personally tailored services designed to meet the unique needs of each individual. When we take on a patient at Avita Home Health and Hospice, they really do feel like family. So when we take care of our family, we want to take care of the whole person. So we take care of them from our nurses, our aides, our physical, occupational, and speech therapists, but we also have people that tend to their hearts. So we have social workers, we have chaplains, and people that can help with the emotional side of their care.
At Avita Home Health and Hospice, we have a dedicated team that takes care of you. Caring for the whole person is our promise to you. From social and emotional well-being to the way the patient relates to their loved ones, we treat your family like our family.
Serving patients and their families wherever they call home, including assisted living facilities and nursing homes. Call 1-800-4NURSES to see if Avita can help administer your plan of custom care.
In business and ag banking, it's not just about the numbers, it's about the people. At First Federal Community Bank, we believe relationships are the foundation of every successful partnership. We can help you grow your farm through various ag programs, including working with our local FSA offices, as well as Farmer Mac. We have many commercial business programs to help make your day-to-day operations easy and convenient. Because when you bank with us, you're not just a customer, you're family.
When it comes to comfort, every degree matters. At Buckeye Horizon, we proudly install and maintain Trane heating and cooling systems built to last, engineered for performance. And with our expert service, your home stays comfortable year-round. No matter the season, we'll keep your system running at its best. Call Buckeye Horizon at 419-529-2738, your local Trane comfort specialist.
Just like you see the Centerburg boys getting it going on, that's right. It's time for the Friday night hype, and the Jardy Party can officially engage. As we will welcome in the star of the Jardy Party, none other than, is it Obi-Wan Kenobi?
It's chilly. It's chilly here in the north.
Yeah, where were you at tonight up in the Cleveland area?
So I don't actually go out to a game. I'm just in the studio for our post-game show that we do, and I'm keeping an eye on a couple things and checking up on a bunch of scores and downloading video, and then I go on and do a segment, and it's a whole thing. And the party is definitely going now because the Seattle Mariners just walked off the Detroit Tigers and eliminated them.
Hey,
that's what I was all fired up about. Yeah.
Big applause from a basement somewhere here in Ohio, Andy. Let's.
I got money on them.
Hey, Travis is getting some dough. Finally, it sounds like Yeaton's bets are starting to pay off. But I gotta know, man. I heard it was an awesome game tonight from Marion Local with these no huddle highlights, or no huddle headlines. I'm sorry. I know that's where we're starting.
We are starting there. It took double overtime for win number 72 for Marion Local, as they get a absolute test from Anna, who went for 2 to win the game in double overtime. They did not convert. Marion Local survives 28-27. This is now, I believe, the second time in the last 3 weeks where they have been very, very close to losing, but they find a way to get it done again. That's now 72 wins in a row for the Flyers. Unbelievable. Speaking of unbelievable, how about Shelby's Braden DeVito? Every time he does something new, you're just like, oh, there's another record, there's another record. He is now 6th all-time in career passing yards in Ohio history. He passed some guy by the name of Joe Burrow tonight as the Whippets
Let's go.
get a huge win, 42-0. And a big streak has come to an end. Not the Marion Local one, but shout out to Van Loo. snapped their 24-game losing streak tonight with the 32-28 win over Jefferson Township. They trailed going into the fourth quarter and put on a nice fourth quarter there to get the job done. So kudos to Van Loo. The streak is over. And Brian, I had to double and triple check that I saw that this actually happened.
Okay.
But what went on in the Colt Corral tonight with the collapse of the Colts? 2-win Highland team goes in, stuns Clear Fork 13-10. What an upset.
Well, when you have a Stover, you have a chance, and they've got a pretty good one. And Kane Stover, our MVP tonight, a walk-off. He's going to have a top play nominee that might just win. It was a pretty awesome play. But just the belief, Andy, I've never seen a 2-win team that's coming on the heels of what they've just experienced. They've scored 6 points over their last 3 games coming into the Colt Corral tonight. Oh, by the way, they've given up 100 over that stretch as well. And then they're up. They're energetic on the sideline. From the opening kickoff all the way into the final whistle, they were 100% totally engaged the entire time. So Coach Ty Stover and that gang, they knew something that nobody else did outside of Marengo, and they were able to come in and absolutely stun basically a sold-out crowd. It was senior night, and they had everybody that was a senior athlete trot onto the field. So, I mean, there was parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles. All the fans out there in the Valley were there to watch their team go down with a walk-off in overtime. That was a tough one if you're a Colts fan.
That's probably the best time for Highland to get Clear Fork coming off of the emotional game with Shelby and that game not going their way. I think if this game was played at any other point in the season, it probably would have been a different outcome. But we saw this last year with Galleon. Like, sometimes a team puts so much stock into that one game, and when it doesn't go their way, it can snowball, and that could be what has happened to Clear Fork here now, losing back-to-back weeks.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how they recover from this over the last 2 weeks of the season. They've got Galleon coming up in Week 10, so I hope they can turn it around. I was down on the field, and I listened to the coaches talk to the team afterwards, and it feels like there's going to be a little bit of soul-searching probably over the weekend, probably going to watch some film together tomorrow, so it's going to be a interesting finish, to say the least, coming up here for the Colts. So nobody really stood out for Clear Fork, but I'm sure there were some other dandies around the state tonight.
We got a few dandies for you here tonight. We have 2 from Highland, but different Highlands. We'll start with the Hornets, as Casey Miser, 5 touchdowns tonight, becomes Medina County's all-time touchdown leader with 83 and counting. He will continue to add to that over the next few weeks, and expect the Hornets to go on a nice little run here once they get into the postseason. Second Andy's Dandy for you tonight, Bryson Hall. This kid is just a sophomore for Wadsworth, as the Grizzlies are undefeated. These are first half numbers, by the way. 11 of 16, 297 yards and 5 touchdowns. They roll again tonight over a 1-loss Nordonia team, now 2-loss Nordonia team, 62-21. It was a 27-21 game at one point, and then Nordonia did not score anymore. And Wadsworth continues to just put up offensive video game numbers. It's really something special. The other Highlands, this one from the Fighting Scots, and we've seen it, we've talked about it. Kane Stover, though, the game-winning touchdown. Highland, huge upset over Clear Fork. They get their 3rd win, and they're suddenly finding themselves in the playoff picture now after that win. Wow. So a huge win there for Highland. Big game here tonight in the Cleveland area as Glenville went to play Hoban, and this was a 9-5 game in the fourth quarter. Not in the bottom of the 6th, not in the bottom of the 7th. This was fourth quarter football, 9-5. And then Brayton Faster, a 99-yard touchdown run, gave Hoban the 12-9 win. Backed up onside their own 1. He takes it 99 yards. Hoban, huge win over Glenville. And then a little bit down in the Columbus area for our final Andy's Dandy, Olentangy Oranges, Lucas Fickle, 4 touchdowns, all of the touchdowns in the Pioneers' 28-14 win over Upper Arlington, as the Olentangy Orange stay undefeated on the year now at 8-0.
Yeah, in Upper Arlington, they came in, I think, just with 1 loss or something. I know that was a huge game down there within their conference. But how about some bonus action for you, Andy? That was kind of a weird score that you showed there with just the 5 points and then the 99-yard touchdown run. There's only one way in football that you can end up with 4 total points. That's what Mapleton did tonight in a losing effort, 6-4. But how about 2 safeties? That's unheard of.
What is this, the first game in the history of football? Wasn't that the final score? Like 6-4, the first ever game recorded? That's amazing. Yeah, there were some interesting scores. There was another game I saw. It was 2-0 at halftime. I can't remember who it was, though. I've seen a lot of scores tonight, and it escapes me. But, yeah, 6-4 is... I wonder if that's scoregami for those 2 schools.
Yeah, but what a way to lose if you get a couple of safeties. But 6 points and you get over the top now. So this is the point in the show where I guess Travis still hanging on. He's down there at OH Report Lair on the East Coast. Trav, is there anything that you want to dissect before we jump off the airwaves here?
I was actually going to mention the 6-4 game that Jardy, game 1 of the ALCS already happened apparently. With the new London victory over Mapleton. But there are 4 regions that we did not talk about yet. And I have to be Lenardi for this part of the show. So, Mr. Thompson, if you can pull up Region 10, the Lexington Minutemen, the Ontario Warriors, their region. Lexington, number 3, they're just about to clinch a postseason spot. If they get a win next week, that'd be big because they get Ashland the week after. Ontario all the way down to number 14. They need to get some help and a couple wins to end the season if they want to get into the postseason.
And Travis.
Yes, Jardy.
Buckeye and Rocky River will play each other here in Week 9. That should be an incredibly entertaining game.
Oh, yes. We mentioned that last week as well. So maybe a helper for Lexington or maybe not. It just depends on who's sitting behind Lexington when that all happens. Let's move to Region 18 in Division 5 because we talked about Fredericktown. They're sitting in 5th right now, but that game against Centerburg, if they can get past their opponent next week, the Freddyburg game is going to mean a lot, not only for possibly a KMAC championship, but also the winner will most likely host. The loser will have to get some help. So that's a big one coming up for Fredericktown as well as Centerburg. And you also see Norwayne sitting at number 8 right now. That Hillsdale game is going to be very important for them because they may be, sitting around that number 8 seed to maybe host in week 1 of the postseason. Also in number 16, you don't see them, they're just outside, but a Northwood team, Mr. Jardy.
Tough one tonight against Woodmore. Lost 61-34. They've trended downward here the last few weeks, but they still have a chance. Very slim chance. They gotta, I think, win out these next 2 to have a spot in the postseason.
Hey, there's always a chance, my friend. Let's move to Region 21 in Division 6 right now, as the Smithville Smithies have clinched a playoff spot. How about Smithville? Like the feel-good story around the area this year. Off to a 7-1 start. They're state-ranked, and they are number 4 right now, but they have officially clinched a playoff spot. Dalton, they're at number 6. They need a win next week to most likely give them a spot. But how about the Smithies, Jardy? They're sitting right there. And also Rittman as well with a big game against Hillsdale coming up, sitting at 15.
So much fun. This time of the year, I love it so much. And Wycliffe there, you see them, number 7. They got a big win over Rootstown tonight. Rootstown was number 10 coming into tonight, so they only dropped 1 spot. So they're still sitting at a spot to make the postseason. I think if they had won tonight, they would have clinched. But yeah, there's this time of year. It's great. I love it so much. Kirtland did. It was not even a game tonight. They won like 52-0. I think was the final. They played a Chagrin Falls team that's had a rough year, but Kirtland always seems to find their way at the top there.
And then the final region we did not show yet here tonight, Region 26 in Division 7. We talked about Hillsdale in 27, Monroeville in 25, but Mohawk sitting in 5th. Mohawk there, just under a point from Lipsick in number 4. And then you see Tiffin Calvert. They've had a tough stretch so far this season. They got rolled by Margaretta, who's just up and coming this year. They sit down there at 13th, a spot back, but still they can correct themselves and get into the postseason right there as well.
Yeah, and that Leipzig school there, 7-1 on the year. They lost tonight to undefeated Liberty Benton squad, 52-0. So am just shocked by that score for a team ranked as high as they were coming into that one, that they had that rough of a night.
And you think Mr. Trevor Klein at Hillsdale is going to request maybe down the line, if they do make it back to a Final Four or state championship, they're going to request those two close Marion Local games to try and get something off of that? Because Marion Local, they steamrolled their competition last year. I know they had a huge senior class, the most winning class in all of Ohio. But, I mean, maybe a little bit back down to earth. And Marion Local's got a decent schedule to finish out the year as well.
Yeah, and you wonder if the streak is becoming almost like a burden at this point. Maybe the pressure of that is starting to mount. It'll be really interesting. I was thinking about that today, seeing that their game was close, and, these kids have never lost a game. So, how do they react? Most of their games haven't been close. How do they react in these situations? This was a good test for them the last couple weeks now, and we'll see if Hillsdale gets that chance at revenge at them. I would be very interested to see if that game would be a lot more competitive than last year's state championship game.
There's no way it can be worse, Andy.
Yeah,
that was,
there you go.
that was an absolute butt kicking right from the opening kickoff. So, you talk about the win streak, and we almost got big noon kickoff coming up here soon. So, Andy, you're normally my good pessimistic friend when it comes to Ohio State or anything Cleveland. So, here's a stat that I just heard today. Ohio State, Illinois, both competing this week as ranked opponents within the top 20. When that's happened, Illinois, I believe, is a perfect 5-0. Do you see the Buckeyes on upset alert tomorrow?
I think anytime they go on the road, you kind of have to put them on upset alert. But this Illinois team also gave up 60-plus points to Indiana. I think Ohio State should be fine tomorrow. I really do, which is maybe cause for concern if I'm optimistic about these situations. But I do think Ohio State should be okay. I am still scarred from Juice Williams running all over Ohio State in the shoe in 2008, or 2007? 2007. It was the 2007 game. Brett Bielema finds a way to make games interesting with Ohio State too, but I think that this Ohio State defense should be able to always give them, the time for the offense to put together some drives and pull away. I think they cover. I think they cover as well too. Was it 14.5?
Yeah, somewhere around there. I know I'm going to be tuned in. Pretty geeked about it. No live streams actually for us tomorrow here on the OH Report, Travis. So who do your Mountaineers got? What are you doing? What's going on pretty nice little Saturday for you?
I'm not even going to watch the Mountaineers. They're playing UCF. They have a winnable game. They have a winnable game, but I'm going to go out and enjoy the cooler weather. It's fall now. Going to head up actually towards Cleveland. Go out to a fall farm. Go through some corn mazes and whatnot, and then a Dave and Buster's up there too. So it's going to be fun. You have something to celebrate though this weekend, Mr. Skowronski and Mrs. Skowronski. An anniversary?
I do, and I think. I was trying to call Jory over. She's like, I don't really know if I want to get on camera. Yeah, we've got year number 9. Amazing that we've been able to make it this long as co-workers too. But we're coexisting and making it happen, Travis. So we're going to be celebrating coming up on Monday. We'll be going up to Cleveland. We got some Adam Sandler tickets. We're going to be getting a fantastic jambalaya dinner, of course, and see what else type of action we can get into. So it's going to be a fun weekend for sure, man. I'm looking forward to it big time.
Enjoy.
Thank you. All right, guys, that's going to do it for us here tonight on the Pigskin. Andy, always fun seeing you, my friend. Just because you're leaving doesn't mean that the party has to stop, man. You can keep it going up by the lake.
No, we're definitely going to be partying as the champagne is spraying in Seattle right now. We are all about this Mariners win tonight. This is beautiful. I'm not a bitter Cleveland fan at all.
With those hand gestures, that's how we're going to wrap up the show. We'll see you next Friday right here on the Pigskin. Week 9 on the way.